Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Ask Me Anything. And this week's question is around reincarnation. Is there such a thing as reincarnation? From my experience, yes, there is such a thing as reincarnation. I also spoke briefly about that in the past live episode of Ask Me Anything. And yesterday I had a beautiful conversation with Tony Riley, the past life expert, who invited me to her podcast. And that actually inspired me this question as well. And I know a lot of people have asked me this too over the years, because we are all connected beings. And there is always this question: what happens after we pass over? What happens once we actually leave the physical plane and go to the hereafter, the afterlife, heaven, however you want to call it? I believe, and from what I've seen, yes, we are going to a afterlife, so to speak. We leave our physical body and we go back into our spiritual form, into a being, into our soul, like being our soul. And that doesn't have a physical form. So we move into the spiritual realms. And depending on what we have experienced in this lifetime, we move to a specific area, so to speak, in that realm. We relearn how to be a non-physical being. And then we even learn more things. And we have different jobs to do as well. So there is a point in that there's no time in that space, but there is a point where it has been decided in our records, in our Akashic records, which holds our book, like our soul book, with all the different lives that we are going to experience. So we either remain a spirit, perhaps we become a spirit guide, or we become an ascended master, or we come back in a physical form. Do you know sometimes when you have these experiences where you feel, wow, I already know that person so well, but I've only just met them. It feels so familiar to be with you. And sometimes you may even have the feeling of, you know so much already, but you don't know why or how you've gained that information. Maybe you've had an experience where you feel, I've been here before, but I've actually never traveled here. That means that you have had an incarnation previously. Like I spoke about past lives. Yes, we do definitely reincarnate. Again, depending on what you've decided to do. And there are ascended masters, and there are spiritual guides, and they have been a physical form. They have had an earth experience as a human being, perhaps even as an animal. Now, animals, talking about animals, they also have spiritual experiences, obviously, but they can also reincarnate. And with animals, yes, they also leave their physical body when they pass over, and then they readjust also in the spiritual world. Now, the same for humans, they have to readjust, and sometimes they do come back. So absolutely, we have different lives to live, and depending on what we have agreed on, we keep doing this for a while, could be hundreds of years, or we remain in the spiritual world as well. Now, when you feel that you want to connect with someone that has passed or an animal that has passed, it is a little bit more challenging to connect with those who have passed over. The reason for that is that we cannot call them back. I believe that we do not have the right to call them back into the earth plane as a spiritual being only because we want to have that conversation with them. We can put a call out to say, hey, we would love to speak to XYZ person or animal. And then when they are ready and when they are able to come through, that is when they come through. You know how sometimes you have people that are mediums and you are in this audience, or you may have seen this on TV or read about it, where they go, oh, somewhere in that area, that person, I have someone come through, this is the name, this is what they've experienced, etc., etc. They can't necessarily pinpoint sometimes who they belong to, but someone is coming through for them. And so by way of receiving information, whether that's an image or a color or music or words, or they can see that being coming through, they need validation from someone in the audience. So at that point, that spiritual being has been able to come through and make contact with someone who is open to be the conduit for that energy to come through. And that's how they connect. And sometimes, yes, we can absolutely book in a medium and then ask for, I would like to connect with XYZ. And maybe it takes a little while for that to come through. Personally, I have been able to connect with animals, but sometimes I've had to postpone client sessions because on the day when it was booked in, there still wasn't any contact. So I work with my spiritual team to actually get things out there. It's almost like an announcement, hey, I want to have an appointment with XYZ. Let's come through, right? So that's how I experience that. Because humans and animals, they need to readjust into the spiritual world. It does take a little bit of time before we can connect. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes we can connect with them immediately, but sometimes it does take a little while. So we do need to be patient with that as well. And I've also learned that on occasion, a person passes away and straight away they're into a new life. They reincarnate so quickly that it happens that, immediately they are in a new life as well. So it all depends what that is. So yes, there is absolutely reincarnation. I would love to know from you how that resonates with you. I would love to know from you if you've had any experiences with this. Have you been in touch with someone? Have you got someone around you that you've had a previous experience with, perhaps in a different life? Do you know if you have reincarnated, perhaps? Really keen to start this conversation because it's so fascinating to me to find out more about that. And if you want to learn how to do this, how to tap into the spiritual world, then leave me a comment, get in touch with me. Happy to have that conversation and see how we can help you doing that as well. So pop your questions below. Even if you've got questions that you want to ask me that is related to spiritual awakening, animal communication, anything to do with you as a person and how you can really get in touch with your inner self to feel really confident that you can trust what you get through from your inner self as well. Anything around that, let me know. Pop them below and I will answer those questions. Absolutely. Because this is a weekly event, Ask Me Anything. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And share your experiences. Happy to find out. All I can say for now is stay connected with love and grace. And I'll see you soon. Bye for now.